Who was Jezebel, and why does her story still resonate in our collective memory? As one of the most enigmatic and notorious figures in biblical history, Jezebel's influence reaches far beyond the ancient texts that chronicle her reign. Married to King Ahab and fiercely devoted to the worship of Baal, her actions set the stage for some of the most dramatic events in the Bible, challenging prophets and kings alike. Her legacy, marked by deceit and the promotion of idolatry, casts a long shadow, prompting us to examine the intertwining of power, belief, and morality. Now let's explore the life of this ancient queen, whose tale not only illuminates the past, but also sheds light on the timeless themes of leadership and integrity. Introduction to Jezebel. Jezebel, whose name intriguingly means chaste, or where is the prince, stands out as one of the most infamous figures in biblical history. Married to King Ahab, her influence significantly swayed the religious direction of Israel, steering it away from the worship of the one true God towards a path marked by idolatry and pagan practices. Her origins from Sidon, a center of Phoenician power known for its worship of Baal, played a critical role in her identity and actions as queen. She did not simply bring foreign customs to Israel, she actively promoted and integrated them into the fabric of Israelite society, challenging the existing religious norms and provoking major conflict. This was not merely about introducing new deities, it was a calculated move to consolidate power and control, using religion as a tool. Her assertiveness and determination made her a formidable figure in the royal court, and a central character in the dramatic episodes that unfolded during her reign. Jezebel's story is filled with actions that spurred the prophets of Israel to confront her, leading to iconic moments of conflict that have resonated through history. Her legacy, tinged with notoriety and intrigue, makes her a fascinating subject as we explore the complexities of her influence and the profound impact she had on the course of Israel's religious and political landscape. The heathen queen from Sidon, Jezebel, born into the rich cultural tapestry of Sidon, a Phoenician seacoast city renowned for its maritime prowess and religious diversity, brought more than just an alliance to Israel through her marriage to King Ahab. Her background was steeped in the worship of Baal and Asherah, gods deeply revered in her homeland. This influence was not subtle, it was profound and transformative, reshaping the religious landscape of Israel. As a queen, Jezebel was not content to merely observe the religious practices of her new home. Instead, she actively promoted her native gods, effectively introducing and establishing an era of idolatry in the heart of a nation that had historically worshipped Yahweh. Her actions were bold, inserting her beliefs into the daily lives of the Israelites through the construction of altars and temples dedicated to Baal. This was not just a personal preference, but a political strategy, intertwining her religious convictions with the governance of the kingdom. The introduction of these foreign practices led to significant tension with the prophets of Israel, who saw her moves as direct threats to the spiritual and cultural identity of their people. Jezebel's influence extended beyond mere religious reform. It was a cultural upheaval that challenged the very core of Israelite society, setting the stage for conflicts that would define her legacy and impact the historical narrative of the region. Baal worship and Asherah cult. Under Jezebel's influential guidance, King Ahab undertook the significant construction of an altar and temple dedicated to Baal in Samaria, marking a pivotal shift in the religious fabric of Israel. Baal, a major Canaanite deity associated with fertility and storms, became the central figure in Jezebel's religious initiatives. Her efforts didn't stop with Baal. She also established a place of worship for Asherah, a goddess revered in various forms across the ancient Near East, often linked with fertility and nature. This deliberate promotion of Canaanite deities was not merely an addition to Israel's religious landscape, but rather a direct challenge to the monotheistic worship of Yahweh, which had defined the nation's identity since its formation. Jezebel's actions were bold and provocative, introducing symbols and rituals that were foreign to the Israelite people. Her influence was so profound that it reoriented the spiritual and cultural priorities of the kingdom, embedding these pagan practices into the societal norm. This integration of Baal worship and the Asherah cult through temples and rituals symbolized a deep and calculated move to secure power and align the kingdom politically and religiously with Jezebel's Phoenician roots. The consequences of these changes were far-reaching, sparking religious conflicts and ideological battles that would resonate through generations, shaping the historical and theological discourse surrounding her reign. Elijah's confrontation on Mount Carmel. In one of the most memorable confrontations in biblical history, the prophet Elijah stood boldly against the multitude of Jezebel's prophets on Mount Carmel. This was not just a mere challenge, it was a decisive, public demonstration designed to prove whose deity truly governed the natural and spiritual realms. Jezebel had entrenched Baal worship deeply within Israel, supported by hundreds of prophets. In response, Elijah proposed a test to manifest the true power of God versus the claimed powers of Baal. Both he and the prophets of Baal would prepare a sacrifice, but neither would set it alight. Instead, they would call on their respective gods to send fire from heaven. This direct challenge was a dramatic, high-stakes display of faith and was intended to answer Israel's spiritual dilemma once and for all. As the prophets of Baal failed, despite their long, fervent invocations, Elijah's simple, earnest prayer subsequently resulted in a spectacular fire from heaven that consumed his water-drenched offering, leaving no doubt about the impotence of Baal. This miraculous event was a turning point, affirming Yahweh's supremacy and leading to the defeat of Jezebel's prophets. Yet rather than yielding or reconsidering her stance, Jezebel's reaction was one of intensified fury and deepened resolve, setting her against Elijah personally and further entrenching her infamous legacy. This episode on Mount Carmel not only underscored the spiritual warfare of the time, but also highlighted the intense personal and political ramifications of religious belief and practice in ancient Israel. Naboth's vineyard and deceit, Jezebel's notorious cunning, was starkly showcased in the tragic story of Naboth's vineyard. King Ahab, desiring Naboth's vineyard for its proximity to his palace and suitability as a vegetable garden, found his offer to exchange it or buy it outright rebuffed, as Naboth was unwilling to part with his ancestral land. Frustrated and sullen, Ahab returned to his palace. Seeing her husband's distress, Jezebel decided to take matters into her own hands, demonstrating her willingness to use deception and manipulation to achieve her ends. Without hesitation, she crafted a nefarious plan, utilizing the king's signet ring to forge letters calling for a fast and placing Naboth at the head of the gathering. Under the guise of honoring him, she secretly instructed local nobles to falsely accuse Naboth of blasphemy against both God and king, a crime that carried the death penalty. The deceit worked seamlessly. Naboth was unjustly stoned to death, leaving his coveted vineyard without an heir. This act of cold, calculated treachery not only secured the land for Ahab, but also highlighted Jezebel's ruthless nature and her profound influence within the royal court. The incident at Naboth's vineyard became emblematic of the depths of corruption and moral decay that could emanate from the throne. Spurred on by Jezebel's formidable and unscrupulous political maneuvering, ultimately contributing significantly to the dark legacy that she would leave behind. Elijah's prophecy and Jezebel's curse. Elijah's confrontation with Jezebel reached a pivotal moment when he declared a grim prophecy concerning her fate. The prophet, known for his unwavering commitment to Yahweh, foretold that Jezebel would meet a violent end and that dogs would devour her body, leaving nothing suitable for burial. This prophecy highlighted the inevitable downfall of those who defied the will of God according to the biblical narrative. Jezebel, with her history of promoting idol worship and orchestrating the deaths of God's prophets, became a symbol of ultimate defiance against divine authority. The curse wasn't just a prediction, it was a powerful declaration meant to resonate through the corridors of power in Israel, serving as a warning to all about the severe consequences of leading the people away from their faith. This prophecy lingered over Jezebel's remaining days, casting a shadow over her actions and decisions. It underscored the biblical theme that those who lead others astray would ultimately face divine justice. As events unfolded, this curse also served as a narrative fulcrum, marking the transition from Jezebel's period of influence to the time of retribution and change led by those who opposed her. The starkness of the prophecy, with its vivid imagery of a disgraceful end, unfit for royal burial, emphasized the severity of her actions and the extent to which they had corrupted the nation. This aspect of her story serves as a chilling reminder of the potential consequences of wielding power without regard for ethical or spiritual boundaries. Queen Mother influence. Following King Ahab's death, Jezebel's role as Queen Mother allowed her to maintain significant influence over the Kingdom of Israel, extending her impact into the next generation. Her sons, Ahaziah and Joram, ascended to the throne consecutively, and through them, Jezebel continued to exert her influence, ensuring that her religious and political ideologies persisted. Her reach extended beyond Israel. Her daughter Athaliah married Jehoram, the king of Judah, thereby spreading the worship of Baal and other idols into the southern kingdom as well. This strategic marriage wove Jezebel's practices more deeply into the fabric of Hebrew royalty and escalated the spread of idolatry across both kingdoms. The effects of her influence were profound, as she effectively embedded pagan worship into the leadership of God's chosen people, challenging the monotheistic foundations laid by previous generations. Jezebel's enduring impact through her children illustrates her skill in political maneuvering and her deep commitment to her own religious convictions, which were at odds with the prevailing Yahwist traditions. Her ability to maintain her grip on power and influence in the face of widespread opposition speaks to her formidable character and strategic acumen. By ensuring her children held positions of power, Jezebel left a legacy that affected Israel and Judah long after her own rule, demonstrating the lasting effects of leadership and the critical role of a mother's guidance in the royal lineage. This aspect of her story highlights the complexities of hereditary power and the profound consequences of a single influential ruler on the course of a nation's history. Jehu's avenging wrath. When Elisha anointed Jehu to rid the land of its entrenched wickedness, it set the stage for one of the most dramatic confrontations in biblical history. Jehu, charged with divine zeal and a clear mandate, rode to Jezreel, determined to confront Jezebel, the figurehead of idolatry and corruption. Upon his arrival, Jezebel, ever defiant, adorned herself with makeup and finery, positioning herself at a window to challenge his authority with scorn and mockery. This brazen act was a final display of her unyielding spirit, but Jehu was undeterred. In response to her taunts, he commanded her eunuchs, who, perhaps recognizing the shifting power dynamics, promptly seized the moment to align themselves with the new order. They threw Jezebel from the window, an act that not only ended her life, but also symbolized the dramatic fall from power of a once dominant queen. This act was gruesome and brutal, and it fulfilled the stark prophecy previously declared by Elijah. Jezebel's death marked a crucial turning point, emphasizing the inevitable downfall of those who oppose the will of God as understood by the prophets. Her demise was not just the end of a reign, it was a symbolic cleansing of the land from her influence and practices, a necessary action to restore the nation's foundational beliefs. This narrative serves as a stark reminder of the volatile interplay between power, faith, and justice in the biblical texts, highlighting the lengths to which divine missions were pursued in the face of profound moral challenges. Legacy of idolatry. When Elisha anointed Jehu to rid the land of its entrenched wickedness, it set the stage for one of the most dramatic confrontations in biblical history. Jehu, charged with divine zeal and a clear mandate, rode to Jezreel, determined to confront Jezebel, the figurehead of idolatry and corruption. Upon his arrival, Jezebel, ever defiant, adorned herself with makeup and finery, positioning herself at a window to challenge his authority with scorn and mockery. This brazen act was a final display of her unyielding spirit, but Jehu was undeterred. In response to her taunts, he commanded her eunuchs who, perhaps recognizing the shifting power dynamics, promptly seized the moment to align themselves with the new order. They threw Jezebel from the window, an act that not only ended her life, but also symbolized the dramatic fall from power of a once dominant queen. This act was gruesome and brutal, and it fulfilled the stark prophecy previously declared by Elijah. Jezebel's death marked a crucial turning point, emphasizing the inevitable downfall of those who opposed the will of God as understood by the prophets. Her demise was not just the end of a reign, it was a symbolic cleansing of the land from her influence and practices, a necessary action to restore the nation's foundational beliefs. This narrative serves as a stark reminder of the volatile interplay between power, faith, and justice in the biblical texts, highlighting the lengths to which divine missions were pursued in the face of profound moral challenges. The modern Jezebel label, the name Jezebel, has transcended its biblical origins to become a modern metaphor for deceit and manipulation, particularly attributed to women who are perceived as leading others astray. This label carries with it a heavy connotation of wickedness and moral corruption, rooted deeply in the story of the ancient queen who introduced idolatry into Israel and opposed the prophets of God. In contemporary discourse, the term is often employed to criticize those whose actions seem cunningly deceptive or destructively influential, echoing Jezebel's historical narrative. The persistence of this label in modern language highlights the lasting impact of her story and serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of forsaking ethical integrity for personal gain. It warns of the consequences of allowing personal ambitions to override communal values and the divine directives that guided biblical society. The tale of Jezebel is thus not only a historical recount of a queen's downfall, but also a symbolic reminder of the dangers associated with the manipulation and betrayal of trust within a community. This narrative warns us about the risks of corrupt leadership and the importance of maintaining a moral compass, particularly in positions of power. Through the story of Jezebel, the message is clear. Actions that undermine societal values and lead others away from collective well-being can have lasting and destructive impacts, remembered through generations. Her legacy, steeped in treachery and opposition to spiritual authority, serves to remind us of the deep human and societal costs of such behavior. As we close this chapter on Jezebel's dramatic story, we are reminded of the profound impact that historical figures can have on our understanding of faith and power dynamics. Thank you for joining us on Divine Narratives to uncover these ancient tales that still speak to us today. If you found this exploration enlightening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think Jezebel's story influences our view of leadership and morality today? Join us next time as we continue to delve into the rich tapestry of biblical history.